special meeting of the Greenways Open Space Committee, but it's taken place in lieu of the November meeting that would normally be on Election Day, which we know is next Tuesday. As we know, there's also no room at the inn. All the rooms here at the township are going to be utilized for that. And then other dates that were may be available were also very difficult to schedule. So we're having our November meeting today, October 29th. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:04, and we can begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming to this special meeting. I will call the roll. So Urbani?
Here.
Weeks? All still gone? Geist?
Here.
Phillips?
Here.
Shelton? Covering? Robinson? Here. And Mr. Bloetscher? Here. Good. Stevenson is present. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda that you see? Here she comes. Very good. Shelton is here, is present.
Oh, there she is.
Very good. Got it? Looking at additions or deletions to the agenda at this time. I could entertain a motion to approve the agenda then, if hearing no additions or deletions, as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Bloetscher.
Second.
Second by Mr. Geis. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the approval of the agenda for the special October 29th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Good. Motion passes. The next order of business is the approval of our minutes from October 1st, 2024. I do know Mr. Geis was absent for that meeting, but took it upon himself even today to complete the minutes. And unbeknownst to me, I also asked Ms. Urbani for the minutes, the notes that she had taken, and so we have lots of minutes. You know, they almost seem like hours. But if you look at the minutes, at least that are in your packet, I think this is a pretty fair approximation of what Mr. Geis sent to you via the email. And if there are any corrections or additions or deletions, please let us know. But take a minute. It is front and back on the one page, and there's 3-page total.
Wasn't Enzo there?
He was not. That was a previous
In
meeting.
September.
Yep.
All right, got it.
We talked about we were talking about signage and the DPS completed signs for Meridian Road and for the right by the observation deck itself. Mm-hmm. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 1st regular meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Phillips. Any second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Urbani. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the approval of the October 1st regular meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Good. There are no presentations, I think, at this time, unless somebody's going to do an impromptu. Kaitlyn, you ready to do? No? Ms. Shelton? No? Okay, no presentations today. So which brings us to our first action item. Actually, I can make at least a comment about the first 2 action items that are on our agenda. And I think I prepared the agenda before. I think there were some further discussions and some further actions on the part of the DPS and the township manager. And Mr. Bloetscher, I think you were involved in something of that nature. But hear me out on this. What we're going to try to do is at least to make our recommendation or make a motion to complete these action items, obviously before the snow flies in many ways. So our first one is the parking area preparation for the East River Connector and the Ferry Gauge Trail. And basically, one of our goals for this fiscal year is to improve the parking areas for all of our open space trailheads. And in some cases, they're they're already been developed and they're established. But I think we're looking at putting down gravel at the East River Connector off of East River, and we're also looking at a gravel base for the Ferry Gauge Trail off of Ferry. So the issue is, this is a question of it's going to be a question of not only completing the work, but obviously paying for it. So it's a question of an allocation of funds from our budget. So does anybody have any comment or any questions about the parking area preparation for those 2 areas?
Are we gonna, the gravel, is that gonna be done by the DPS, or is that gonna be done by an outside contractor?
Well, that was going to be the question. Yeah, Mr. Bloetscher?
Mr. Chair, if I can follow up on your comments for a moment. I did meet with Chair Stevenson and John Keim and Manager Thiel. John is the field lead for DPS. We walked the proposed area of a connecting trail in Meridian Woods from East River to the drainage ditch that's there. Bill had staked that out several weeks ago, and Mr. Keim walked it. He will be cutting the trail for the chips to be laid down. Mr. Keim has worked with us in the past, and he understands that the proposed path has a minimum length as well as avoids trees that would need to be taken down or anything else like that. So John has indicated that he can do that, cut that with relative ease. He knows where the crossover is going to go. It's one of the narrowest portions of the drain ditch. The bridge itself is 15 feet by 10 feet. So the strength of the bridge is not an issue, and it will be placed with the help of a general contractor that the township uses for a number of other similar projects, mains and broken mains and water mains and things like that. That will be subject of a review by the contractor. Name is Charlie Campo Brothers, CBI. Charlie will come out or send someone out to look for exact placement. The proposal is to put down a significant amount of rock as a base with pipe over it so that the bridge does not sit directly on the ground, but will be above it. And the span, again, is 15 feet, and the real crossing is probably somewhere around 10.5 to 11 feet. So we have plenty of room there. I asked John about further wood chipping once the trail is in. He would like to do that in a more expedient manner, such as bringing in a semi, dropping wood chips off on the trail so that he can then use a bobcat to go in there and use the relatively short distance. It'd be even shorter than what we've got over at the Ferry Gauge Trail. So John is confident that that can be done. It is hoped that he will be able to do it this fall. It is comparatively dry out there, so they should be able to bring both the semi and the bobcat and take care of that. And Mr. Campo would take care of placing the bridge with a very large, long forklift that has forks that would be able to lift up the entire bridge and drop it into place. So that is the good news there. We asked Mr. Keim what his thoughts would be about putting in 3 to 4 parking spaces between the bench and the north end of that opening where we have wood chips right now. John indicated that that was something that they could do, and they could bring in some gravel on that when they get their next load, drop some off at DPW, or DPS as it's now known as, and a significant load over there so that we would have parking on the East River entryway to Meridian Woods. Moving over to the Ferry Gauge Trail, the culvert currently is about 16 feet in length, and that sounds like an awful lot in terms of parking a vehicle in there, but it appears to be inadequate given the amount of space and having a turn off of Ferry Road to go in there. The idea is to put in 2 parking spaces because at this point that is a through path. It's not something where you go in and meander and wander around for 45 minutes or something like that, drop off your car and start walking. The idea is we're going to bring in another 24-inch length of culvert, approximately 8 feet long. That will then give us 24 feet and will certainly make it much safer. Last thing we want to do is, finding someone pulling into or backing into that ditch. So those are in the works. I think it's very doable this fall. We certainly have great weather right now, and John has indicated that he has other projects that he has taken care of, and now is probably a better time than what's been available for the great balance of the summer. So he's on board. He's enthusiastic. Township manager was there. He understands what we want to do, and Derek is in agreement with it as well. So those 2 projects should be done this fall, meaning the 2 parking projects, and then the span over the drainage ditch as well. And that's going to be placed so that it'll be able, hopefully, to last for a couple of decades. And we're pretty excited about that. John also understands that we need some wood chips on the west side of that bridge as well where it's going in to make a clear marking for where it connects with the older trail. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the cost? Do we need to approve the cost?
Well, that was going to be one of the action items, or
Oh, it
both.
was?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I'll speak to that. No, that's fine.
So
But thank you. That was very comprehensive.
anybody else?
Any other questions? So just as we did a motion at our last meeting for signage, that we said we approved the purchase of signs, like at least 6 signs with an amount not to exceed a certain amount of money in this case. I would like to, given the fact that we're looking to put gravel down in those 2 parking areas, so that's the first action item I'd like to talk about. I would like to entertain a motion to have the committee recommend or approve the expenditure of monies for these 2 parking areas, like the gravel and obviously the work to spread it, not to exceed $5,000, which is our general limit that we can do without going to the township board.
Okay, right.
Do I understand that correctly to be $5,000 cumulative for the 2 projects, or $5,000 each?
No, for cumulative.
Very good. And that would include the culvert on the Ferry Gauge
Yes.
Trail as well? Very good.
Any
Oh.
any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Geist,
Second.
second by Mr. Bloetscher. Any further questions on the expenditure of up to $5,000 for for those items regarding the 2 parking areas?
Do we need to establish which one gets priority, which one should we start with first in case we don't have enough funds to complete the second one? I don't know how do we need to worry about that now?
I don't believe so.
I don't
Lee.
believe so.
The culvert is going to be 24-inch metal. I understand that Compo already has that in 24-inch by 8 feet already in stock, and The only addition to that is that there is currently a pipe in the ditch that has some ability to direct people as to where the edge of the culvert is. And John has indicated he can do the same thing without a problem for the east end of that ferry gauge culvert, so that we're not going to be dropping vehicles in. You're going to have to really work at it in order to drop your vehicle in the ditch. But that should take care of everything.
Okay. So does that answer your question? We think at this time, it's not an issue. And if it becomes an issue, we can call a special meeting. There is a motion on the floor for that action item. So is there any further questions? I would call the question then. And so all those in favor of the improvements to the parking areas for the East River Connector and the Ferry Gauge Trail, not to exceed an amount of $5,000, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Good. Good, thank you. The second item there, second action item, was moving the former bicycle pedestrian bridge over the Meridian Woods Drain, and this is the one that I put on there maybe prior to any discussion that we had or with the DPS and township manager. It looks like that's going to happen, okay, in terms of, because if DPS wasn't able to do it, or there was going to be a delay, we were looking to contract that. And so if we were going to contract that out, we would either talk to CBI, Campo Brothers, or we would contact another organization or another group that would be able to facilitate that. But other than to make this as a recommendation, or like we would like this as soon as possible, and again, should we put a dollar amount on that, since it'll be an expenditure for moving, we can do so.
I think we should do that, because didn't you say that DPS is going to work with Campo?
That is correct.
So there's going to be some expense.
There'll be some
for-
expense.
We have any
For them.
idea of a ballpark?
No, we do not.
I would recommend going with the $5,000 again, just to, make sure that we can cover it.
Can cover it, right.
I would further indicate that when we did the ferry gauge connector there, the trail off of Ferry in particular, there was a lot of drainage. And Mr. Campo came in with a very generous offer. I'm not going to repeat the numbers, but it was based on a per foot. And he indicated that he expected that would be right on target, or maybe even over. If we were in fact owed money, he would see to it that they were billed accordingly. The history with Campo Brothers as relates to this committee has been exceptional. They have been very fair, very reasonable, and did a very, very good job. Charlie is a member of the community and has a great deal of interest in open space. So I think we have the right person, the right company for the right job. I expect $5,000 would cover that, and I understand that there is culvert on hand to make that work.
Just to make sure that I'm fully understand how it's going to work is, Campo's going to do the work. They're going to bill the DPS for it, and then the whatever accounting system that will get back billed to our account.
Ultimately, we end up paying for
pay
it.
for
So
it.
Oh, right.
Campo would bill the township through this committee, and then
Oh, it would be
John
through-
Kime would do the same
Okay.
thing. It would reflect that work
Okay.
was requested by us.
So they'd bill the township for our account specifically.
Right.
It wouldn't go through DPS necessarily.
That is correct.
Okay.
And the same thing goes with DPS. They will bill this through the township to come out of our account.
Right.
Okay.
So, do we have a motion to that regard of moving the former bicycle pedestrian bridge over the Meridian Woods Drain in an amount not to exceed $5,000?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Urbani. Second? Second by Ms. Phillips. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to move the bicycle pedestrian bridge over the Meridian woods not to exceed $5,000, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Good, thank you. Motion passed. Our third action item is a recommendation to the Township Board from our committee to fill a vacancy that has, that we have on our committee and have had. And I at least want to say at this point in time, after 8 years, is it, Mr. Bloetscher?
Yes, sir.
Since he is not running for re-election, and there is an election in next week, there will be a new township liaison person to our committee.
Let me interrupt you if I
you
may. A little bit of history on this would be order before we go too deep on this. There was an extended discussion last night at the board meeting regarding the filling of the fire department vacancy that's being created by the resignation of Dallas Kelsey. And once a resignation or a vacancy exists, then what the township does is publish notice of that so that all interested citizens could then apply for it. So if you have one or several, with respect to fire, we have 2 applications on hand. Both of the gentlemen are exceptionally qualified, and without mentioning any names, very clearly either one of them would be appropriate to do that. To fill that vacancy, the question came up, why don't we do a direct appointment? And the answer was because the township has a policy and a procedure that you advertise, so everybody has an opportunity to apply for it. And then the applications are made, and then the process goes forward with the chair and I think a township manager and a third person making a recommendation, and then you've had your interviews and everything like that. So I think that would be appropriate to fill that vacancy in that manner, in that procedure, that process.
I would agree, but however, I believe we have posted the vacancy since Cliff St. Pierre had resigned, and I took over as the chair. So there has been a vacancy.
Okay. With that clarification, then, the procedure apparently has been followed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, because currently do have one vacancy
Correct,
on the
Right.
committee
correct.
since.
Oh, and we try to follow policy
Absolutely.
and procedure. Given the fact that Mr. Bloetscher has served this committee more than ably and is a valued member of the committee, but is also stepping off the committee, at least the action item that is presented here is a recommendation to approve him as our citizen to fill the vacancy that currently exists.
So move.
I would, if I may, with a little bit of discussion, I would prefer not to do that at this point. Allow the proper application be filed and then move forward on that. That's my only concern. And again, I appreciate it. I will be putting an application. If that is a concern, I guess that, and I'm very flattered by that, and thank you for that, Mr. Chair, but I think the best thing for me to do is to become a citizen and then put in the application. So, not meaning to disagree with my my chair.
You're always a citizen, okay? But it's a question of yes, how we do that,
Well, when does the new board?
20th of November,
right? And we don't have a December meeting,
correct.
so the new person would come on as a liaison in January.
Well, actually, probably February, because doesn't it, we have to first act on it to get a formal recommendation, then it has to go to the township board for final approval, correct?
Correct.
Right.
We're more likely going to have our first meeting, our January meeting before the township board has their first meeting of the month.
First meeting of the board is the second Monday of the month. I
Right.
don't have the January calendar in front of me, but the November meeting is theoretically tonight.
Right now,
Yes,
right,
yes.
And,
exactly.
or in practice tonight, so your point is well taken.
We couldn't make a recommendation until our January meeting, and then it goes to the board, which is, in most cases, a formality, but still.
Procedure.
We'll take your application on November 21, okay?
Okay.
Exactly.
I'll get a response on the 22nd.
Or actually, you could turn it in at any time, it's just
Right.
we can't take any action on it until after the
Until
20th.
after.
I like
That's fine.
Okay.
everybody. I appreciate that.
So,
Okay.
so that being said, I would like to, at least to amend my motion, and we would like to table the recommendation to fill the vacancy at this time.
So move, I guess, do we have to do approval for tabling?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Second by Mr. Bonney. Any further discussion? So all those in favor of tabling the recommendation for our open space committee vacancy until our January meeting, say aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain in light of the personal nature of that.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? All right. A couple discussion items here that we have. I know some of you were busy traveling and having a nice holiday at various and sundry places, and missed. I know it's hard to miss, and you were missed. The dump the junk, find a treasure event. Although those of us who were there saw some. It was a very beautiful day, and it was a good day, and it was very successful. We did have, I talked to Scott Ryan, who is our official gatekeeper with the counter. We had 386 visitors that day and a number of repeat treasure hunters who obviously need to park their car elsewhere and then walk in and find their treasures and move. So that was very good. We did salvage 2 bins full of scrap metal that is going to be recycled by Fritz Enterprises. We filled 17 dumpsters with concrete, yard waste, wood, and general refuse, okay? So they added 2 additional dumpsters, and we probably could have used more because of the amount of yard waste, would you say, that we...
Garbage, too.
in garbage that we had. We had 30 tires that we were able to recycle and keep them out of our open space, so that's good. Although we've had, in the past, we've had upward almost 100, so that was down. But again, it's a good thing. It was also a very good thing that we were able to coordinate with the Rotary shredding event, and so we've been able to do that the last couple of times we've had Dump the Junk, Find a Treasure. And they were closer to us this time. They were just like, and so we had a number of people pull into the DPS yard and say, is this where you do shredding? And we have to just redirect them a little closer to where their signs are. But that was a very good, and I would like to continue that if we do so. We got a huge shout out goes to John Kime, the DPS person. Who really knows how to run a backhoe and move the place along. Mark Fasenhammer and Donna Deppa for work that day, and I want to thank them both for working hard, and also for Donna Deppa for doing all the preliminary stuff. So we called Donna Deppa, and it's taken care of in terms of like organizing and arranging everything. So that's she's really does a great job. Again, special thanks go to Ray Geist, who was there. Scott Ryan, Kaitlyn Robinson came and brought Isabel Roscoe, her classmate, for their good work at the event, so they were good. Ms. Shelton, I know you had some surgery, so otherwise you'd be there, but we had many positive comments from residents. They are very proud to participate and to see an event like this, and they were looking forward to the next one in the spring. And I said, yeah, we'll be having it in the spring. And it just really is a great effort to keep our little corner of the earth a better place to live, and that's where I think we did a nice job. So one big action, or at least an item that we maybe need to address, is that some of the treasure hunters, if we had everybody park in the DPS yard, I mean, we'd fill the DPS yard, and so you wouldn't have, so we need to cordon off an area. So one of the things we would do is cordon off an area on the treasure side, and Kaitlyn knows, because people were like, actually, I mean, they're pulling in there, and they were like, no sooner does a car pull in to drop something off, that people are either snatching it up or fighting over it, or trying to, it's
No
like
fights.
it's like squatters. Yeah, come on, this is a peaceful event, and it's a great event. But again, rampant materialism has its tendency to rear its ugly head. But basically, we have, it was a good event. But we need to cordon that off, because people then get testy, like, well, why I should be able to park here. It's like, no, we need to park out in the street and not have an issue. So that would be fine. We label all the bins that are there, so people know where to go. We have enough people to direct where to go. If anything, we were a little shorthanded, and I know like Theresa Weeks and her husband, the chief, weren't there, and they're very helpful in terms of that. Bert and John do a great job in terms of that, and Mandy on the other side at the treasures, as does Carl. So it's just a question of like trying to get. But it was a wonderful event that a lot of very, very positive comments.
I just want to make a note. There's really only a couple of people that had some issues over there to find the treasure areas and that. Most people, a vast majority, I should say, were respectful, courteous, and patient to make sure of that. So I just want to make sure.
No,
that
it's not widespread. We're not talking chaos here, but it's like.
But one thing that we should discuss when we get closer to the spring one is that we saw a significant drop-off number of people after 2:00. And so perhaps we should be considering shutting things down at 3:00, an hour sooner in that. It's a long day already.
Right.
And spend a lot of time standing around and not doing a whole lot is not, productive for anybody.
Right. Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, because that was one of the discussion points that we had at the event. It's kind of like there was a lot of, at least towards the end of the day, a lot of downtime. And again, we did not have Cass Community Services or one of them, because they just logistically, it makes it very difficult for them to get there on a weekend or on a Saturday. They don't even have a driver, or the Reverend Sue doesn't want to drive the panel truck down here or the box truck in order to take care of that. But again, I would seriously support the notion, like we could cut it back an hour. And we should also maybe make a recommendation or communicate to the public about, okay, the time cutoff in order to drop stuff off to the treasurers should be like an hour earlier too. So if we're going to end the entire event at 3:00, then we should say no more treasurers after 2, because it's just, like drop off. You can still come to that point. So any further
Bill?
questions or observation?
I
Yeah.
just have a kind of odd question. At this event, do they take yard waste?
Oh, yes.
Like
Oh, yes.
leaves? Is it leaves?
Leaves, branches, trunks,
Trees.
stumps.
I mean, we're
That
talking,
kind of
no,
thing.
that kind of
No,
stuff. Yeah.
everything.
Everything.
People are going home, trimming off their branches, their
Oh, so
trees,
they
their
take
shrubs,
all
and
the
all that
trimming
stuff, and
okay.
hauling them down. And
I mean,
Okay,
it's almost
got it.
comical. You see some of the, you see this, a smaller pickup truck and you think the tree's coming down the street, okay, because it's how they lash it on, or how, oh yeah, it's like, and not just one trip. I mean, that one
last spring, there
the
was
one
a,
guy made like 4 trips. I said, sorry, are you like, doing reforestation of the,
Wow.
of their deforestation, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just
Yeah, it
wondered
was
what
great.
that
It
was.
was pretty crazy.
So were there many treasures left? That kind of
yes.
Yes, enough. That's always the issue, And I wish we could, we even tried, like last year, we tried to like, okay, maybe if they can't come, if, let's say, Cass Community Services or another charity can't come on a Saturday, maybe can we move the stuff to, a township facility where we can hold it, and we work with Janelle Jacobs, Janelle McNee, for, the township, airport manager, and she was able to provide a space for us. But again, by the time we look through, it's a question of some of the stuff is, are we going to haul it? And then if you get a charity comes saying, well, we really don't want that, so it's a question of your time. But that's a possibility. But if you guys have any other great access or avenues to organizations that would come like on a weekend at 3:00 to pick up stuff, please, first off, to let the community too, let us know.
About that, Bill, what does St. James use now for pickup? Do you know?
Cass Community Services.
Is it
Yeah,
Cass
they use
still
Cass,
coming
yeah.
to St. James?
Although I'll be honest with you, St. James brought stuff to the treasurers.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yes. Okay, so they brought stuff to the
Oh,
treasurers,
cool.
saying, here you go, this is like leftover from their rummage sale, and I believe some of the stuff was taken, so
Oh, that's excellent.
that's
Oh,
good. Yeah, I mean,
that's
we're just
great.
trying to help people who need the help, or trying to help the community in terms of like getting rid of stuff that
Get
you
rid of
can
it.
get
Right.
rid of. So any further question on that?
Mr. Chairman, when you said 2 bins, are we talking about the 30-yard dumpsters?
Yes,
or-
yeah, we're talking big
Okay.
dumpsters.
And I'm understanding the difficulty and the fisticuffs broke out because somebody found some ballots there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there was some, we found that some people had dropped stuff off early. Okay,
That's a little tongue-in-cheek.
I know, yeah, I know. Yeah, apparently, the Rob Ponder, who works for the DPS, uses that in terms of like, if, the pallets, they can be reused, or they can be, recycled in that regard, or they can be burnt and used for other,
Right.
barbecues, for all I know. Okay, but, all right. Any question about that? Okay, our next discussion item is like encroachment enforcement. And I guess we're pleased to say that, we responded to the encroachment that we had previously in the month of September. But I also received a text just the other day from a citizen to say that there was an encroachment on 4th Street, and that we need to, in the same general vicinity where there had been an encroachment before, it seems like that. So we need to, the process, again, is to call the township, and you can, Ross Cuero is now going to be the person that's the enforcement officer who is directing the investigations, and I believe his extension is 238. And so you can call 676-4422, extension 238, and if you see any type of encroachment on properties, open space properties, you can call, and that'll at least get the ball rolling in that regard.
I would add to that, if Ross is not available, if he's out of the office for vacation or some other extended, extension 210 will lead you directly to Mrs. Gape, and she will know who to direct that to in his absence.
Good.
So if you can't get a hold of Ross, give Margie a call at extension 210.
Give Margie a call.
Yeah, Margie called.
Oh,
too.
Margie, okay.
Mhm. Anything else on encroachment? This isn't necessarily encroachment, but I do want to make this comment. As Ray and I were walking in the woods the other day on the East River Connector, we came across a citizen who takes it upon herself on a pretty regular basis to travel the Meridian Woods or a Ferry Gauge Trail to pick up trash all along the way.
Great.
So it's like, we thanked her for her work, and, you know, yeah, so we encourage that.
Did you give her a name?
Yeah, I think is it Cindy Saka, Wendy Saka? Okay, her last, that was her maiden name. But yeah, but she was there and does this on a fairly regular basis, so I want to commend her for that.
Display trash bags at the opening of the trails.
Okay.
Say, if you find trash,
Right.
here's something to the house.
That might be a question.
Oh, that wouldn't work,
yeah,
probably,
you know, the great question is that at the beginning of all of our trails, should we have trash barrels? And the only, you know, that would seem like a logical thing. However, here's the only issue with that. Somebody has to always empty it.
Right.
Somebody has to always monitor it. Somebody has to, you know, and that's part of the issue. And again, it's a question of time and money on the part of the township, whether or not that's the case.
It has to be coordinated with them. I know on some of the Land Conservancy trails, there are a couple trash barrels out near the trailhead and the roadway and that, and the township does periodically come by and pick that up. So it's probably a good idea, but again, before we actually do anything, we need to coordinate that with,
Yeah,
with,
right.
with them and make sure they can do it and where they would like to have.
I mean,
Located.
and you know, along the bike path, there are you know, trash barrels that are there that are maintained on a regular basis.
So the Gibraltar Bay unit of the wildlife refuge, their policy at all refuges is, you know, pack it in, pack it out, so they don't have trash
Right.
collection there.
So you bring it, you take it away.
Which
Right.
is not a norm for most people.
Right.
And unfortunately, the default norm for many people is drop it, pack, bring it in and leave it.
Right.
So, I'm kind of surprised. You know, it would be great if if the township was willing to collect from more spaces, you know, and because the parking lot for the refuge is also the parking lot for the airport natural area.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, has that policy been pretty successful for them? Like, do people pack it out? Like,
Probably in the more rural places, you know, where people are used to hiking, it's not something that's been very successful at the GBU or even at the visitor center, you know. But the visitor center is one thing, but then once you get out into the trails, that's because it's not top of
more or
mind for
less
people.
experienced hikers.
Right.
Right. You know, even Disney, apparently they did, probably years ago, they did studies and they found something, and I don't know if this is a myth or if this is reality, but 6 feet is the farthest that people will walk to throw trash away. So,
Really.
and so that's, you know, and so Disney is,
Yeah,
Sounds
really.
like we'd be fighting a losing battle putting trash cans on then. Like,
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, we have miles of trail, and it's a question of, you know, do you put a trash barrel all the way out in the middle of your trail? The question is generally probably not, okay? And it's a question of, you know, but again, but partly, you know, we do have obviously great citizens like Ms. Saka, who obviously goes through, and she may not be the only one. But as you walk our trails and take a look at our open spaces, it's clean. They're clean. They're fairly clean. You know, probably the worst part is like, you know, if it's like right by Meridian School, only because you get some of the stuff that blows across the road from, you know, Meridian, you know, from a school setting. That's all.
Maybe Disney has does not have a lock on Goofy.
No.
Well, I
Yes.
have another question about the encroachment. What status is the ferry, not the ferry, try that again, the Bellevue 4th Street encroachment issue, where is it at? Have they been given the papers after the notification that they've encroached?
I have to follow up. I have not heard, I just got this the other day, so I have
we
not.
don't know
but I
where
don't
we're
know
at with the
where we're at.
township.
The other one, my understanding is that there has two things. A letter had been sent to the people on Voight that we had the issue up
That
there.
letter went out,
That
okay.
letter went out. I think there had been an investigation that was conducted by the township at that point in time. The township ordinance officer went. Julie
okay.
Cordes.
Didn't know that.
I know, we paid informal visits to the area.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been, when it's
Okay.
called to our attention, we respond. It's just as if it's a tree is, falling on your property, has fallen on the trail, or we try to respond to that as fast as we can.
Well, okay, so, but the whole issue with the 4th Street issue, to my understanding, has gotten worse.
Well, that we need to
And
find
so,
out.
like, I
right.
know Julie went there, I don't know if it's been a year.
It's probably been a year.
It's been a year, and like, where are we, in the process right now with that?
Well, number one, I don't know if it's the same area, okay, to be honest with you, and I haven't visited, but I will follow up.
4th
I will
Street,
follow up on that.
both sides of the
Okay,
street.
and then I'll let you,
yeah.
right,
A business, a landscape business, and a house,
right,
Okay.
no, I get it. Anything else on encroachment enforcement, or any further discussion? As you notice in our minutes, and we've been calling for this, and whether or not they've been fruitless or not is another story, but it's a question of, we want to get together with the bicycle pedestrian, the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy, the Rec Department, our organization, and the DDA, okay, in order to talk about like some common areas that we can, like encroachment, but also common areas where we can help each other.
Yes.
One of the things that we were waiting for, and I think it has at least been released, or it is soon to be released, is the master plan draft.
That's right.
And so we're looking and we're waiting for the master plan draft. Carl, you may want to, you have some insight into that.
The township board took the preliminary step with the master plan last night by
There you go.
making a motion and approving to have the master plan brought before the board after an appropriate comment period. That comment period, I'm recalling, is about 90 days out, so that people have an opportunity to look at the draft, and then they have an opportunity to come in front of the township board or the planning commission and say, this is something that I would like to have added, something that we should talk about, discuss, or maybe something that should possibly might be modified. So the first step has been taking in the township adopting a new master plan, and that is to approve what has transpired so far in terms of presenting it to the board. Nothing substantive, it's all procedural. And once you have a final plan, draft of a plan, then it gets presented for community comment, and then it comes before the township board for a final approval, and then that becomes, in practicality, a 20-year plan.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Wasn't it supposed to be ready by the end of October? Wasn't that what I heard, the master plan?
The comments from the public that allowed for the draft were. But then you can move to the next step, which is the township board accepting responsibility for a master plan for the next 20 years, let's call it that.
right.
But before you adopt the master plan, you have to have a period of public comment. So you may have some people that, as an example, we want certain kind of density, R1, R2, or R3 in this area as opposed to C1 or C2, just using an example. So you have a 90-day, as I recall, a 90-day comment period where it can be digested. The master plan is something that is fairly heavy reading, and a lot of things there to consider. what kind of focus and emphasis do you want? It is my understanding that the the draft includes a lot of interest in outdoor activity, such as the BPAC and certainly Greenways open space. So there's a lot of interest out there, and I think the December meeting of all of the groups is appropriate, because at that point you'll have an opportunity for input as well as what we think we can do and maybe responsibility. As an example, enforcement, make enforcement of encroachment issues specifically available, not just for this committee, but for Gibraltar Bay and for the wildlife and anything else that the community feels would be of some benefit. I think that is very worthwhile.
I have a question on that. Is the 90-day period, like, did that begin as of yesterday? If the board, the township board, like, approved?
The initial draft has not been released
Okay,
yet, as I
hasn't been
understand
released.
it.
Okay.
Correct.
So we gotta wait. But we still want to have we're still trying to.
Correct.
First off, you know, if we have language that is in the draft of the master plan, and we can all say, hey, wait, that involves you, that involves you, that involves you, this group, this is, obviously, there's an interest on the part of the citizenry to, you know, to have these, you know, have this kind of connectivity. I think that's important, okay, so that that's something to talk about, because I would much rather be, when it comes to master planning or anything of that nature, I would rather be proactive than reactive. You know, like, hey, let's try to get ahead of some of this, or let's try to, you know, have some foresight, as opposed to, like, you know, we're reacting to it. And so yeah, that's just my thought on that. But that makes sense? So we're just trying to, and I believe that the December 10th, when we get a little closer to that, we'll get some information out, like, you know, who all will be invited, who's able to attend, and we can go from there. And students, if you have to, I think Mr. Bloetscher, you can help me with this again. I think we're looking at a 10 o'clock to maybe 11 o'clock, 11:30 meeting.
10 to 11:30.
10 to 11:30 meeting on December 10th.
That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
One of the advantages to having it on a Tuesday is that I spoke to Ross Kuros about this, and he lives in a community that's about 25 miles from here, and coming down on a Saturday is somewhat of a burden. And when he heard we were going to do this on Tuesday in the morning, he just lit up and said, call me, include me, get me involved in this. Absolutely.
You know, and I would also think that any other people that are township employees that serve on committees can also attend at that point in time.
I think that would be wonderful. We started out with what I think of as the initial 4, and now we're moving into that was Greenways, Rec, Nature Land Conservancy, and Bicycle Pedestrian. Well, DDA is a big part of that, and Community Development Director is a natural fit. So if anybody else wanted to attend, it'll be with a new liaison. And but I would ask that you would keep those groups, the other 5 groups, involved and make them part of this, and see what kind of results we can get.
Good, thank you. Anything else on that?
Yes.
Yes.
I have one other thing. The next Monday, which I believe is November 4th, the Planning Commission is meeting, and one of their action items, or the action item, is to recommend to the board to authorize the master plan draft for distribution and public comment.
Okay,
So
good. There you go,
there will be
Mandy.
information available on Monday about what the framework of the master plan is going to look like.
Good,
So it'll give us something to work from, at least.
awesome, good, thank you.
And that is what the question has been, is what's the next step on that? And
Right.
Ray, thank you for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what, Mandy, your question was, and that's the next step.
Right, good. Well, as has been our practice, or at least our wishes, we generally have had we do not have a regular December meeting. So for those of you who are planning at home, planning to attend our December meeting, there is not a December meeting. So please, mark your calendars that that will not be the case. However, sometime in December, obviously before we get too far into the Christmas holiday or other holidays that you may be celebrating, we would like to get together if that's the desire of the group, if we would like to do that. Okay, is that a possibility? And yes, students, we will get you out of school for a lunch, and you don't necessarily have to go back unless you have some other pressing,
Interesting offer.
okay, pressing service. Great offer. Okay, come on, you're doing your civic duty, okay, collaborating.
Mr. Stevenson will write you a note.
I will write you a note. I will write you, right, I know. So is that the wishes of the board or this
Yes.
committee that we would like to get together? Okay, and I will try to make some arrangements, a different time and place, and let people know. We'll coordinate it. Is there a particular day that you like a day of the week that is not good for you?
As of now, I do not know.
Okay. Mandy,
Oh, I'm good. At any time.
doesn't matter.
Mr. Chair, if I may make a suggestion, we've been talking about December 10 for the meeting.
Oh,
My recollection is 10 to 11:30, and I think if, just as a suggestion with that date, maybe at 12:30 at Tipsy Fish,
maybe
something to consider.
somewhere like that. Yes, yeah. So maybe December 10th.
Oh, after the meeting.
Why don't we do a little tentative, because you'll want lunch then. But we also generally invite DPS folks, in like our normal little deal.
Needing a drink after that meeting.
Okay, you might need one. All right, so December holiday meeting, at least tentatively, let's put December 10, and if there's something else going on, we will let you know. How's that? Good. It's getting towards the witching hour, and so we're moving along, but do we have any reports from the school liaison team, Alicia and Kaitlyn? Anything going on in school?
So I have been talking with a couple friends of mine that are more in tune with social media than me, and I've gained some insights on starting an Instagram account. So me and Kaitlyn just need to discuss the details of managing it together, and obviously gaining approval of like what specific materials will be on it. So I expect that in the
Oh, that
near
would-
future. Yeah.
Good, very good. Caitlin, anything?
Yeah, I agree with that. That will help get things out there and get the school more involved.
And that's part of it, and we understand and realize how busy students are, period, okay? And, you have busy lives, just being scholars and athletes that you are, but you also have other commitments that, you're involved in, so we understand that. I do know, and I can maybe ask both of you this, is that we, when you first came on this committee, it was a question of we were going to have you at least up until January, okay, of this, because it was more like a 1.5 year commitment. And you don't have to answer tonight, but it would be a question to be pondered, whether or not you would like to continue as the liaisons to the school, starting in January and then moving forward.
I would like to.
Was easy enough. Okay, so good. Anything else happening in the school? You guys just had homecoming, I know.
That was fun.
That was good. Homecoming was away, I know. Mr. Oakler, I'm sure, was having fun with that, as were most of the community. But I believe Woodhaven High School was a gracious host to.
We broke their fence,
the
so
football-
I don't know if they'll be a gracious host for us again.
I think I heard that just tonight. Well, it was such excitement. The football team won. They beat Cabrini 28-21. That was a good thing. Bringing home a victory, and that's a good thing. So good. But anything else going on in the school? No, we're good. You're going to be ending a Well, you still have some ways to go till the end of your first semester. Yeah, good, okay. Mr. Bloetscher, anything going on in the township that you haven't already touched on?
No, I think we're pretty much there. I would ask for a moment of comment at the end of the meeting before we close, but with respect to the matter, I will bring the board up. Our next meeting is going to be Wednesday night because of conflicting needs and demands for the boardroom, including the EPA assessment of the airport that would normally be done. It is scheduled for the time of November for our second monthly meeting, and so that's our first monthly meeting and only monthly meeting because of Thanksgiving. And EPA is going to be using the Merle Solomon room, and so the board will be meeting next Wednesday night as opposed to the fourth, the second, and the fourth Tuesdays. Other than that, I'd like to reserve a minute for some comments at the end of the meeting.
Sure, thank you. Ms. Phillips, anything for the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy?
Yes, well, I have a report. Last Saturday, we had the owl prowl at Centennial Farms, exploring wide-eyed owls. I haven't talked to anybody since then, but I assume it was a success. They usually have a really good turnout. Saturday, November 16th is our annual membership meeting at the Grosse Ile Golf and Country Club, 10:30 to noon. Doors open at 10, and you know, it's where we talk about our preservation accomplishments for the year, awards to contributors, and electing new board of director members. This year, the guest speaker, which ought to be interesting, is Kelly Rose, who's a founding member of the Ecorse Creek Committee. The talk title is From Concern to Action, Revitalizing the Ecorse Creek Together. Kelly will share the insights on the successful revitalization of the Ecorse Creek through citizen activism and collaboration, offering an inspiring example of how local efforts can make a lasting environmental impact. And I guess she took really kind of a disaster environmental issue and has really accomplished a lot together. It's quite a story. So that should be good. And on that same day, there's a event at the Resource Center that day from 1 to 2:30 about creatures of the night, eyes in the dark staring back at us, and you know, more about nocturnal critters at night. And I understand the bats are there's a fungus among bats, yes, which is causing quite a problem, you know, environmentally with our ecosystems. Just real quickly, preserves. We acquired by donation 2 lots from Olive Roberts, about 3/10 total acres. They are upland lots near Thoroughfare Canal at Marlborough and Chicory. It's off of Marlborough.
Marlboro. I can tell you we're not a
Marlboro
smoker.
for me.
I can tell you we're not a smoker. Marlboro.
I never did smoke those.
Good.
There's a little bit more about the Boy Scouts completing his, Cameron, who completed his Eagle Scout project at the Bruce Jones Preserve. I think I've talked about this before, but the markers on the trees and the QR code to the webpage about more detailed information about each species. Some of the webpage content was developed by Dr. J. Roscoe's biology class at Grosse Ile High School. And Boy Scout Griffin Wilcox is beginning work on an observation platform at the Bruce Jones Preserve too. So there's a lot of work bringing the Bruce Jones Preserve at the corner of Bridge and Meridian, bringing it up to speed. Oh, and then I forgot to, I want to mention The other main concern, I know we've already talked about it, but is this encroachment issue because I know I'm repeating myself, but it was on my list of things to report about the concerns of board members, about the stage of the 4th Street encroachment, which I understand has gotten a lot worse, and what can be done about it, and and like Mr. Stevenson said, so that we can collaborate more. We can do this on December 10th to talk about how we both handle this process of encroachment, because it seems to be kind of stuck. That's it. That's it for me from the Conservancy.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Good. Ms. Weeks is gone, and welcome letters, I think, had been sent out. Now that we have the new guides to natural areas of Grosse. Are there any public comments? And please hold your comments
I just
to.
wanted to say one more
Yes,
thing. Sorry.
that's okay.
Sorry about the welcome letters. I had volunteered to write one to use for the Conservancy, but from what I gather, the Conservancy is doing a lot of that on their own, and I really don't. It'd be kind of repetitious to do it here,
Right,
because they're doing a lot of that.
right. And we have our own that we've written, that we
You
write,
have your
yes.
own, and I just thought including the Conservancy with the open space, which it's not really, it's just open space, right?
Right,
The welcome
correct.
letters.
Mhm.
But it looks like we don't need it, so.
Okay.
you just wanted to
Good,
mention that.
okay.
We're just gonna continue that confusion about the two different organizations.
Yes, yeah.
Right,
it's-
yeah, I know.
It's interesting.
Well, maybe that's
doing
something-
both boards.
That's
why I
obviously,
had to
that's
kind of-
something that we obviously need to talk
shows.
about, okay?
Right,
And, and realize that, Any other question or comment? There are no public comments that we've heard. I would be a motion to adjourn at, excuse me. Mr. Bloetscher, requested a few minutes' time.
Thank you. I simply want to say thank you to everybody that I have served with on this committee. It has been an absolute pleasure. It is amazing how we have been singularly focused on the greenways and open space and making the community a better place. I have served on a number of other commissions and committees within the community, and I will say this one has given me as much pleasure and satisfaction as many others have. It is hard to drive any part of this island without seeing something that we haven't touched, whether it is a purchase of the ferry link with Gage, or whether it's the expansion of the Meridian Woods, whether it is the signs that have been put in, or whether it is the dump the junk, find a treasure. All of those things have become a very big part of the community. When I talk with my neighbors, I invariably ask them, what drew you to the community? We've had people on this committee and give the same answer as the neighbors do, and that is all of the green open space that we have here. The interest in walking the trails and being part of the outdoors. I had one neighbor say that, I have 50 acres of open space behind my house. I don't have to go up to the middle part of the lower peninsula or the upper peninsula. What we have here with the animals and the birds and all of the wildlife is just absolutely special. I want to say, particularly while I haven't had a chance to get to know you as well as I would like, Mandy, it has been just wonderful working with you. Your commitment to conservation has been just incredible. I felt the same way about Cliff St. Pierre. Cliff had been here for 2 decades as the chair, and certainly a guiding force and a guiding hand. Ray, I've gotten to know you real well in the last 2 years, and I thank you for being part of this. That's made a big difference. And as for the young ladies, Miss Shelton and Miss Robinson, you've had some big shoes to fill when Zoe left this committee, and I would say you've done admirably. I appreciate the fact that you're able to participate. It's got to be kind of intimidating to be with all of these people that have a few years of experience on you, but your commitment to making this a focus in the high school has been it's refreshing and it's remarkable and it's very much appreciated, because I think it is the younger people that are going to be stepping in and taking care of what we leave. And I certainly think we will leave the island and these islands of open space and greenways in much better hands. Bert, I can't say enough about you. You're absolutely amazing. You and John have been a tremendous force here. You are always present. You're always involved. I think you may have been born with a green thumb, although I'm not sure. I remember the first time that we met was down at the Gibraltar Bay unit, and we were having some kind of an outing there. I don't remember what it was for, but I pulled up in this 1997 Dodge Caravan that we used for my mother, who was a double amputee. It got about 14 miles to the gallon going downhill with a heavy tailwind, and Bert had eyes that were about the size of plates. What are we doing with this eco-terrorist on this committee? My God, this is just terrible. I have come to love working with you, Bert, on a number of different levels. And Bill, I can't say anything more than, wow, it has been great. When I first became a member of the committee, I wasn't sure how we would ever be able to replace Cliff's energy and enthusiasm and knowledge. I don't know that replacement is a good term. Succession is. And I think you've been just a terrific successor. I appreciate the exercise that I've discovered as a result of our relationship, cutting paths and cleaning things up, and it has been remarkable. I am pleased as to have been a student of the high school at the time you were teaching there, although we never had the same report card. I do thank you for everything that you have brought to this committee as well. So it is with a bit of sadness and a lot of feeling of accomplishment that I will be leaving you after this meeting as your liaison. And I have really, truly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed working with all of you. So with that being said, just thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
unfortunately, during trustees Bloetscher's comments, and that reminded me of something I should have asked earlier, is that last meeting, monies were approved for replacement signs on open space areas. Have those signs been selected, or at least the locations that?
They have not, okay?
Okay.
No, they have not, but that's
So since you
one
wanted,
of my things to do,
since you
too.
wanted to expedite that.
Yeah, I hear you. I know.
Probably.
We get busy, guys. You know, we have other lives. There's an election next Tuesday that we encourage everyone, if you haven't already done so, to vote. Okay, you know, your vote makes a difference. And we also have some. Thank you, Lori, our media specialist back there. These are state award-winning I voted stickers that the contest throughout the state was given. So if you've already voted, you're certainly welcome. And even though some of our student members are maybe not eligible at this point in time, but certainly your voice can be heard, and you can make a difference, even though because in a number of years you will be eligible to vote. So it has an impact on you and your future. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:18.
So moved.
15, excuse me. Okay, moved by Mr. Bloetscher,
Second.
second by Mr. Bonney. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you again, and we'll be talking to you soon.